Let me tell you a secret. When I hear people talk about their sky high, reach for the stars, don't settle for the moon type of goals, I always cringe a little bit inside. But aren't big goals what we should be striving for? Without big, lofty goals, aren't you just succumbing to mediocrity, doomed to fall by the wayside while our peers climb the teats of capitalism? In all seriousness, I want to talk about why tiny habits are actually the way to get where you want to be in life, not lofty, huge goals. By adding up those tiny habits and systems over time, the compound effect really does end up creating even larger successful achievements. But by focusing on that large goal in the beginning, you're going to get overwhelmed. So there's a few reasons why you want to focus on tiny habits. The number one reason that you want to focus on tiny habits versus large goals is because of your identity. Identity is a key player when it comes to success. The identity of the person who is accomplishing the goals that you want to accomplish is different than the identity that you're holding on to right now. You've likely heard the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. In order for a new habit to become your daily reality, your life actually has to change. Your identity has to evolve. And your identity evolves by switching up your relationships, environment, job, beliefs, food, basically everything around us, depending on what your goal is. If your goal is to be a full-time musician, your identity has to align with that. You have to know in your heart that you are a full-time musician. It can't be like a pipe dream or a maybe, one day, I wish. It can't be that. It has to align with, I am a full-time musician, in order for that to become your reality. And evolving your identity is so doable, but it doesn't happen overnight, and it also doesn't happen by thinking your way to it. That's not to say that the law of attraction doesn't work. It's just to say that action has to be in tandem with your thinking. The way that you evolve your identity is by gradually building up that belief, by proving to yourself that you show up and do the work and you are that person. You inch your way into being that new person by taking action. Then you can slowly become that person who exercises 5 days a week, that person who doesn't default to going to the bar after work, or that person who has a successful Etsy shop and makes a living off their DIY stickers. We can't think our way to confidence. I'm a true believer that confidence comes from competence, which is action. Every action you take, you get better at something and you become competent in that area because you've done it so many times. So many things around us in our lives have to change in order for us to make the shift into that new identity. We don't have that infrastructure yet around us to become that person tomorrow. Okay, so back to how this relates to tiny daily habits versus big goals. I remember this thing that my gym teacher told me in middle school. He told our class, I want you to go home today and do one push-up. Just one, that's it, just one. And then I want you to do that for a week. One push-up every day for a week. And then the next week, I want you to do 2 push-ups a day for a whole week. And so on, I want you to do 3 push-ups for a week. And in a year, you're gonna be doing a lot of push-ups every day. And this seemed kind of laughable, like 1 push-up, are you serious? But the point is that it's easy. It's laughably easy. There's no intimidation. There's no like dreading it, you're dreading your workout, like it's gonna be tough. Like there's none of that. You just can do it so quick and easy, and there's no barrier to entry. And that is exactly what we want with our goals and with our habits. We want them to be easy so that we will do them all the time. And listen, I know there are people out there who really like big goals and they thrive off that and they look forward to that, and that doesn't scare them and they show up every day, and that's totally fine. I'm not talking to those people. I'm really talking to the normal people like me who maybe sometimes have a hard time showing up every day and would rather watch TV and lay on the couch. For us, we need to kind of trick ourselves in a way and figure out ways to, help ourselves show up daily and make it very, attainable and doable and not scary. So I'm talking to those people. So by setting the bar super low with those tiny daily habits, you will see the task and think, yeah, that'll take 5 minutes. Why wouldn't I do it? I can do anything for 5 minutes, Push-ups for 5 minutes, Spanish lesson, paint, whatever. Like, it's easy, 5 minutes, no problem. Versus a large goal that's like, I'm going to run a marathon every week, or I'm going to compete in this huge, bikini competition in 2 months, or I'm going to become a gallery artist in 6 months. Like, those are scary, scary goals. So I don't like saying those to myself, or I'm going to feel a bit defeated because I'm not identifying with that person who would do that yet. We want it to seem easy and attainable so that we are much more likely to show up and do the thing and build that identity change. The hardest part of doing the thing is actually showing up. If you're writing a screenplay, the hardest part is usually like putting the pen to paper or getting out the blank Google Doc, If it's exercising, it's putting on the clothes and like showing up to the workout class. All of those things are the hardest part, just showing up. So if we can break down that barrier to entry and make the hardest part actually so easy and unassuming and just eliminate that barrier, we're going to show up daily and do it. And it's going to be quicker, more efficient, and just a lot less stressful and scary. And as you can probably guess, you're likely going to stick with your habit a lot longer than 5 minutes. I always do, I tell myself like I only need to paint for 5 minutes, and that kind of just eases the pressure. But of course I end up painting for like an hour or two often, and that's not the point. The point is that you want to make it sound easy, but then in your head that you're gonna enjoy it after you get past that 5 minutes, and you're probably gonna stick with it and have a longer workout or a longer writing session or whatever you're doing. So the point is to make it sound easy, but then once you're there, you're gonna end up having fun and you're gonna wanna stay. And if you don't, that's okay too. Like, if you just do the 5 minutes, that's all that matters. Like, you can be happy that you just showed up for that day. Something else that's really awesome about doing these tiny daily habits and always showing up for them because they're so easy is that you're constantly exceeding your expectations and you're constantly meeting your goals, your tiny goals. You're always, saying, I'm going to show up for 5 minutes today, and you're doing it, and you're proving to yourself that that is your identity and you are that person. And that feels really good to like daily be proving yourself right. Because I know for me in the past, I would set these large goals and I would never meet them. And I constantly felt like bad about myself or just down and, not accomplished. So, a big part of this is showing up for yourself and feeling that accomplished feeling daily. Some of you might also think like, well, 5 minutes each day, that's still pretty like mediocre. I'm not really gonna make a lot of headway doing that. And I definitely understand where you're coming from. And like I mentioned earlier, usually you're gonna do the thing much longer than 5 minutes. So it's really just about making it sound easy and like tricking yourself. Usually you'll stay a lot longer and you will make that progress. But another thing to consider is that you can increase that time. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes, it can be 30 minutes if you want to push yourself harder and that's not scary to you and that's still easy and like, a low barrier to entry. You can say 30 minutes or, whatever you'd like. It's really all about your personal goals, and we can all alter this process to fit our own needs, which is amazing. For me, I really like when my goals fit into my lifestyle and they're just like, they fit right into my day. I do my Italian lesson on my lunch break, and then I paint right after work, and then I go to the gym, and it just all flows and it's like a routine. I don't even think about it. Like, I just do it every day. And I love that. I want it to fit easily into my life and not take up my whole day. I just would rather do something like 1 hour a day, like every day, versus, a long Saturday and then I don't paint for a month, like that's not as sustainable. I'd rather just fit into my life easily. And so for me, it works to just say 5 minutes every day for a couple different habits, but you can definitely change the process to fit your needs. Big steps are actually just a million tiny steps. So you really aren't sacrificing progress or achievements. You're just making it sound easier and you're breaking it up into smaller, tiny chunks. So instead of focusing on that large 6-month goal, you're focusing on the daily tiny goals so that you can be present and you don't have to get overwhelmed by that large looming goal. You just say, I only have to do this one small thing today. That's all I have to do. That's all I'm gonna focus on. I've also noticed that by showing up daily with my habits, it increases my endurance. So I'm able to lengthen that time over time. So it used to be 5 minutes, now it's 30 minutes. So over time, you'll really just bathe yourself in that identity and you'll want to go longer, and you'll be able to just show up as part of your routine, and it really does get easier and easier over time as you do something more and more and become more confident. So how do you know if you're settling or if you're at the right amount of pushing yourself? There's a sweet spot in productivity. It's where you feel really excited about your goal, but you know that you can do it. It doesn't feel out of reach or some distant, faraway thing. It feels like, yes, I can do that, but it is going to be some work, and it's also a little scary, but exciting and totally approachable and doable at the same time. And if you're not there yet with the belief in yourself, that's totally okay. That's why we say 5 minutes daily. Build that up, and eventually you really will feel that identity and belief in yourself. I think it's important to also celebrate these tiny wins and also the medium wins along the way. You really want to associate showing up with a positive reinforcement. That way you'll want to keep doing your habit. So for example, recently I was creating a Skillshare art course. This isn't sponsored or anything, but it was a pretty large goal, and I broke it down into tiny chunks each day. It took me about 3 months total. My only real goal was to work on it at least 30 minutes a day, just editing, filming, whatever I need to do. And that was the approachable daily habit. But when I actually finished the course, I took an entire week off. I let myself not work on anything. I did puzzles, I got takeout. I just had a whole week off of productivity, and that was my reward for finishing my course. And I did, I had little rewards along the way, like when I was finished filming, I, went out to dinner, that kind of thing. So just have small fun wins to look forward to along your journey, the small and medium wins, so that you really treat yourself and you want to be productive and show up to your goals in the future. I wanted to share some examples of tiny habits that I follow daily, so that it might give you some ideas and kind of spark your interest of things that you might want to do daily as well. So every day I do a 5-minute Duolingo Italian lesson. I do a 15-minute workout 4 to 5 times per week. I shoot for 1 hour each day to work on YouTube, which is either filming, editing, or writing scripts. I read for at least 30 minutes every night. I do 1 hour of painting at least 1 to 2 times per week. And I do 10 minutes of quick cleaning up my house every night. And that's about it. Those are my main daily habits. I also go on a walk with my dog 3 times a day, but that's just a given. But yeah, I always shoot for 10 to 30 minutes of just, and I usually go much longer, like I said, but that's what I shoot for. It keeps it really easy and simple, and I focus on 2 or 3 main habits, exercise, YouTube, painting, my Italian lesson. Those are my main things. So, and over time, these add up to much bigger goals, like creating a Skillshare course, or having a super clean house all the time, or getting fit by working out just a few minutes each day. So instead of saying, I want to lose 100 pounds, you may want to say, I'll work out for 10 minutes 3 times a week. Instead of saying, I'm going to write that science fiction novel finally this year, say, I'll write for 10 minutes every night before bed. Break things down and make them approachable. Focus on today instead of the future, and you'll feel a lot less overwhelmed and detached from that distant goal. You'll feel really tied into your habit and your identity today, and you'll feel good about those small accomplishments. Another thing I like to do is sometimes even saying 10 minutes of painting, that can be intimidating. 10 minutes of writing, that might sound intimidating. So something I like to do, for example with painting, I might just say, today all I need to do is paint that blue patch in the right corner. That's it. All I have to think about is blue paint, that small corner, that's it. And that makes it so easy, and I can just do that, and then if I want to keep painting, I will. So, with writing, maybe you say, I'm just gonna figure out the title of my novel today. That's it, just the title. Or just one character, that I need to come up with. So if the minutes is too intimidating, just think of one tiny habit that you can focus on. The nice thing about something becoming a daily habit also is that you don't have to think about it, and whether you feel like it or not, you'll usually end up just doing it anyway because it's part of your routine. So even if you're sick or tired, you'll probably still do your Italian lesson or your Spanish lesson because it's so easy and you're just used to doing it. Of course you don't have to. If you're sick, you should rest, of course. But I'm just saying, the good thing about it becoming part of your routine is that you don't really think about it. You don't rely on how you feel or being motivated. You rely on discipline and routine, which I think is kind of freeing, You just don't have to worry about it as much. You just do it. But again, that takes time to build it up. It doesn't happen overnight, but by making the barrier to entry so easy, you're most likely going to show up for those 5 minutes each day, and before you know it, it'll become a habit. Big goals are momentary. They're temporary. You achieve them and then you're done. But daily habits are lifelong, and they keep on giving, and they really just become part of your life. So lastly, I'll leave you with this quote: "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." So what tiny step are you going to take today?